Okay, let's talk about the last 6 ones, which are timing, straight ahead animation, or poses to poses, key poses to key poses animation, appeal, staging, solid drawing, and arc. Okay, now all of them actually are put in to work in video game. Timing is the hardest one to really explain. In The Illusion of Life, the book, the main animator at Walt Disney, the best guy there, said, hey, you know what, when he's being interviewed about timing, if I actually know how to 100% do perfect timing every time, I'd be exploded. I'd be really rich, all right? Basically, he said, there's many times where I come for 2 weeks at work, at the office every day, and I can't freaking set up anything properly in timing. It's awful. And then I come the next day, and for 24 hours, my timing is insane. Really good. All right? No, that day, he said, I don't stop working. Very often in art, you'll get into that situation where you'll get to not be able to do it very well for a while, and then suddenly you're grooving. You know, you're like treeing. You know what I'm saying? In sports athletes call that treeing. You're like in trance. You can't miss. I would advise you guys when you're like that to not stop working. To take advantage of that really good atmosphere and the way you are grooving to do as much work as possible until you're dead tired and you're not grooving anymore. All right, because it works like that. You got to be, you know, it's not every day. It's not easy. But the best thing we can say, it refers to having a believable, natural, you know, realistic timing between character different motions. Okay. This is what makes the animation look good or not with the weight. All right. Beside the weight, there's not much beside that. Okay. But the timing, the best way to pick up the best timing possible is to time yourself or film someone, because you'll have realistic timing right there. Okay. And then you just basically take a stopwatch and see when it starts from keys to keys, and you transfer it to 60 frames per second. So if you know it will take 2 seconds to do that motion, you say 2 seconds by 60, 120 frames. All right, that's how you get timing. All right, and follow an animation. By following an animation, like Edward Muybridge, you get perfect timing, you get live timing, physics of the world. Doesn't get much better than that. You get the weight and the timing at once. All right, so I always follow animation. It'd be fairly foolish to go ahead just like that. All right, you guys. So that's a good one. Now, straight ahead animation or poses to poses animation. All right, it's basically the 2 main techniques on how you're going to animate your object. All right, you guys. There's 2 main ways to do it. The first one is straight ahead animation, and that's mainly for really good animators. Okay, the better of an animator you are, the more you're going to go to straight ahead animation. Straight ahead animation is simply frame after frame, and you key everything. So you basically, if you want to do a punching of someone, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 60. And you get your 60 keyframe one after the others. And you key everything one after the others. You need to be very good at drawing, or you need to be very good at animation itself to move it properly, or you need to have a very good animation in the background. Then if you have a really good video animation in the background like Edward Muybridge, you can just go key by keys. All right? And that works very well. Now the second technique, you guys, is key poses to key poses. So that would be in the same situation. Key poses to key poses, the best example to give is like a comic book situation. All right? So let's say you're punching someone. You go 1, that's key poses 1, key poses 2, and you can duplicate key poses 1 for key poses 3, so it's perfectly blending every time. All right? The problem is when you do key to key straight ahead, basically, you don't have pretty much to adjust the spline, the curve, like we did in the curve editor, because you already have it from the animation you have in the background. You'll have a perfect curve. You just have to smooth it most of the time. Okay? When you do key poses to key poses, then you're going to have curve. Because let's say you have a key pose right here, a key pose right there, and a key pose right there. You don't have the keys in between that form, that shape right there. You don't have them all the one. So your computer is going to go straight flat like that. All right, in the twinning. So you're going to have to go with the little handles right there to adjust them so it goes this way. All right? So that's what the trick is at that point. And that can be pretty hard sometimes to adjust it properly, the curve, to get the easiness out. Yes, Drew?
I've also noticed when I animated with Maya, I used Keepos method, there's another problem. Let's say you were starting a punch at pose 1, then number 2, but instead of going all the way back, you wanted to stop it right forward. Now, typically people think, all right, there's key pose 1, 2, 3, there's 10 key poses in between each. 10 here.
Poses, you mean?
Here. Yeah.
Frames, keys.
You're right. But if there's 10 for a shorter distance and 10 for a longer, you're literally going to punch fast.
Yeah, of course, you gotta. So that's interpolation of frames, basically. Depending how many frames you play per second. If you play only 10 frames, it's gonna go real quick for a second. If you play 20 frames, that's gonna take twice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's gonna be really slow. 10 frames, 20 frames for 1 second go a lot faster because they're gonna have to put more frames for 1 second. You know what I'm saying? So 10 frames might be just like that speed right here for the same motion. You know, 20 frames like that. Okay? So yes, I agree. Good point. Now, you also have appeal. All right, you guys. Appeal, does it look good? Does your animation looks good in every freaking angle? That's the main difference between 2D and 3D animations. In 2D animation, it's seen by only one angle. In 3D animation, it's seen in multiple angles, especially if you have multiplayers. The other players will see you from all the different angles, depending where they're located. Your animation needs to look good in any of those angles. That's a lot harder, trust me, you guys. Okay? It requires a lot of tweaking to do that, so that's really important. Okay? Now, staging. Staging is how you present your work, basically. Is it clear? Okay? It's very similar to appeal for video game animation. Alright, it needs to be staged properly so it's appealing. So it needs to be working from every angle. Alright, basically, the staging is every angle, basically. Alright, so they go hand in hand, those two. Now, solid drawing is the way to see if those two works well. Okay, basically, the solid drawing is simple, you guys. Is black and white stuff, no texture. Alright, so like that, you will see in black and white, just like that right here. Let's say. Just like that, right here. That's what I call, solid drawing. Can you recognize your animation and what's going on with your character? Just like that, in black and white like that. If you can recognize your animation in black and white just like that with no shader whatsoever beside those flat shaders right there, I mean you did one good job. Alright? That means they'll recognize it in any situation, anywhere possible. It's a strong silhouette. It's a strong animation. Understand that, you guys catch that? Okay, good. Now, our last principle is going to be the arc. We talked about that. Okay, let me stop that just a second.